Hello, everyone, and welcome to Emerging Brands Franchises on the Rise. I'm your host, Cash Miller. I'm also the CEO of Titan Media Works. We do podcast production. We, on this show, talk to businesses that are like established. They're really breaking through, though. They've got something to offer, and they're all franchises. That's what they've got in common. But the concepts in franchises can vary so much. Today, we're talking to Wade Brannon. He's with Pigtails and Crewcuts, and we're talking haircuts. But this is for kids, and kids are a huge market. The beauty about children, there's always somebody, there's one being born every day, right? So in fact, way more than one. And you've got opportunities left and right. And if you love children, and you like the simplicity, sort of, no business is that simple. But a business model that is something you can really build on. This is one that you might be want to learn more about. Wade, it's great to have you on. Tell us a bit about this business. You've been running it for a long time. You've got to know everything there is to know.
Ooh, I wish. I wish I did, but thank you for having me. I appreciate your welcoming me on your show today. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Pigtails and Crewcuts is an interesting business, as you say. It is a hair salon specifically for children. We do some moms and dads for convenience purposes, but we are geared towards children. We have worked to create an environment that the children love and parents feel very comfortable in. And it's really a successful model that we've been working for about 20 years now. We're coming up on year 20 and have had some great growth throughout that period of time.
How many franchisees do you have at the moment, that are operating? And also, where are most of them located? I mean, it's all in the United States, I would assume, but is there any particular concentrations throughout the country?
We are all in the U.S. and we are in various pockets around the country. What happens is people see the concept and they get interested in it, and then they want a little of that for themselves too. Mm-hmm. We've got 75 plus locations open. About 60% of them are multi-unit operators. So it's a lot of people who come in and maybe want to do one. It's a lot of people who want to get back to work after having children, and they become familiar with a business that's geared toward children, and they think that fits into their lifestyle. But also, we've attracted a lot of multi-unit operator types who want to just build kind of a haircutting empire, and this fits into it, or a franchise empire, and this business fits into it because it's a proven model.
I think, it's haircuts. That the whole kind of salon industry, in a sense, they're like, it's evolving. I've noticed, over the last few years, or last decade or so, because it's starting to split up. When back in the day with barbershops and stuff, that's what it was like, the local, small business, some guy that's been cutting for 20 years in his local community, especially when if like, I know you're down in Atlanta and I'm in Tennessee, you have a lot of small towns that might be 10 or 15,000 people, something like that. So you'd have the local barber. And then eventually it became chains like Supercuts and, things like that. Right. But they were still kind of servicing just everybody that walked through the door. And in the last decade or so, maybe even a little bit longer, because you've been around, 20 years, but more of them have started, like, there's been more concepts coming along that have split themselves off, where, like, I go, I got a haircut the other day and I spent like $40 on the cut, and I went to one that caters to men. It's called Shave. It's a local chain of, like, I don't know, five stores or something, but I go in, it caters primarily to men. It doesn't really care about the age, but it's the thing is if you got a beard, this is a place you go, because, they also take care of that. And the treatment is a little bit different. It's a little bit higher end. You're paying for that, so it's a little bit better experience. You're not just like, hey, how fast can we get you in and out the door? And I feel like I get a better cut there. Right. So, and that's what you guys have, is you're doing that, but you're going after after children and their parents.
Yeah, we are. And we feel like it's a niche, and the niche is not all children enjoy getting a haircut. And
No.
they're, I have a son who's now 25 who, excuse me, when he started getting haircuts, I took him to my old barbershop,
Mm-hmm.
and he hated it. It was very uncomfortable for him. It was very disturbing. He screamed a lot. We sweated a lot, me holding him, and it wasn't a lot of fun for either one of us.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I ran across Pigtails and Crewcuts by the lady who started it here in Atlanta. Approached me. I'd been in the franchise business for 20 years before that, and she asked me if I would help her. She said she thought she wanted to franchise Pigtails and Crewcuts. So I went to see it and took my son, and we sat in there for an hour. They were so busy. It had just started. We sat in there for an hour, and never once did he say, "Dad, we got to get out of here." Never once did he tear up. Never once did he get upset. And I kind of realized this is something that there's a need for this. Children don't go to my age doctor. They go to a pediatrician, somebody who specializes in that. And, so I kind of realized that there was a niche for this, that there was a place for this because of the specific needs for children and for their parents. Your parents need to be comfortable because, last I checked, the kids don't drive themselves to get their haircuts.
Yeah, right.
Somebody else is taking them. So it's got to be an enjoyable experience for both. And so as we were looking at it, I told her I thought you ought to franchise it. And I ended up buying the concept from her, basically the intellectual property. There was one salon here in Atlanta, and I bought the intellectual property with the idea of franchising it again, because I felt like it was a business model that was needed in communities, but also that it was one that could be replicated throughout the country.
Yeah.
There was no real barrier to entry from Southeast to Northwest to Midwest to, et cetera. And so that was what got me fired up about it and got me excited about it.
That makes sense. Like I can see why you'd get excited about it, because you're not, I don't know, like tell me how much competition is actually in this space that go after that particular, demographic, who, there's, I don't think there's a ton of it, but there is some.
The adult salons prefer to not do children. I mean, that's the reality. We're focused on 0 to 12-year-olds. And so there are a couple of mom and pops and some other people in the industry. But, our background is franchising. And so, what we believe we bring to the table is that franchising expertise to help our franchisees be the most successful that they can possibly be. So, that's kind of the delineator, I think, the primary delineator between us and any competitive situation. But there are plenty of places. I mean, you can take your child into the bathroom and cut their hair. Now, bring them over, we'll fix it. But, chances are you're not going to do a real great job. But, you can, it's a commodity item. It's something you can get almost anywhere, but you can't get the experience anywhere. And that's what we're selling.
Let me ask you, because you mentioned, so you take a Great Clips or one of those, the big chains. Why don't they like kids? Is it just because kids are a pain in the ass in general? Is there a particular reason? Like, I understand why you'd want adults, but it's more so like, because you're right. Anytime I've ever gone into a Great Clips, I see children once in a while, and they all look miserable, there. But, is there a particular reason that you know of anyway, of why they don't want kids if they can avoid them?
I think I'm not going to say that it's because children are a pain, because I have 3 of them and they will watch this at some point and they know where to find me. But, I just think it's not their niche. It's not really their business. It is, we focus a lot on children with sensory issues, and that is very prevalent in today's world. I think we understand those sensory sensitivities today a lot better than we did 20 years ago. And I'm not sure that other salons, adult type salons, are really equipped or interested in learning that.
Yeah.
And so, not just for that, but just for other children, it's just a different process. It's just a different, if you or I are sitting with the barber or the hairstylist, we can communicate what we want. A
Yeah.
2-year-old can't.
Right.
And so you're dealing with mom, you're dealing with dad, you're dealing with the child. It's adding legs to the stool. It's just a different deal.
Okay. And that makes sense too, because, you can't get some, forget the kids being emotional, the mother being emotional if you mess up their haircut, so, they don't, they don't necessarily want to deal with that as an organization. They will, because they're going to take anybody that walks through the door, but they're not going to encourage it. Is kind of the idea. They want,
Yeah.
they want the adults. Okay. That makes sense. Let's talk about the actual stores because, since they're kid-friendly places, I'm wondering, like, what is the square footage typically for these? How many, chairs and whatnot? Because I know salons go by, number of, actual chairs in there. And then what is the feel? Because it's like, I saw pictures that looks like it's, toy, like really comfortable. It's all kids related, like furniture and things like that. So
Yeah.
kind of describe the place to us.
So you're right. It is geared, obviously. It's very gender neutral because we actually do more boys than girls because boys come in more often. And so we're seeing them up to 8 times a year, give or take.
Yeah.
But we want to keep it gender neutral. Excuse me. Our salons are typically 1,000 to 1,500 square feet. We locate them in strip type shopping centers where it's easy in and out for the parents to bring them, get out of the car, unload, get them in, get them out, make it convenient for them.
Uh-huh.
The one side of the salon is typically younger children, where they get to sit in a kind of a retro vehicle type chair. So it might be an airplane, it might be a fire truck, it might be a dune buggy, a police car, things like that. Those are great fun and very sad when they outgrow those. The other side are what we call adult chairs, where if the child is really young, they might sit in their mother's lap, or as they age out of the vehicle type chairs, they sit in more adult type chairs. We've actually even added in a lot of our salons lately more of a tween or teen room for people who want to stay with us longer. And so they've kind of got their own room where they can play video games and such. Okay. The colors are very bright. Excuse me. The furniture is very comfortable for the parents to sit in. There's trains to play with for the kids when they wait. We have retail items, which adds another a line of revenue, but also kind of creates interest. We have televisions at every station showing movies. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Showing movies to entertain the children while they're getting their hair cut or while they're waiting.
Oh, that's interesting. So you have a literal television, like where you would have the mirrors and stuff. You have something there for them to watch a screen instead. So
exactly
kind of
right.
Them while they're getting the cut.
Yeah, exactly. And, we've got waiting areas for them. One thing that we've done is we have created an app so people can get in and out a little more easily and you don't have to wait. They can book appointments. Yeah. We used to shy away from appointments because, I've never been on time with my children. But if you can schedule it, it makes it easier to get in and out. And this was kind of a result of the pandemic. It kind of started with that because we couldn't have certain numbers of people in certain salons and, square footages and requirements and spacing and all that stuff.
Right.
But it's really become great because people can get in and out a lot easier. And so there's not a lot of waiting. And obviously that's a benefit with kids as well. Yeah. But it's bright, it's cheerful. It's as I say, fairly gender neutral, but it's also very comfortable for the parents. We've got nice, comfortable furniture. We've kind of made it a little living room feel, and we've got crown molding and wooden baseboards and, but a lot of color also that attracts the kids' attention.
It's kind of upscale, but for kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's not as, because I mean, like I say, you walk in a Great Clips or something, and it's pretty, I won't say drab, but it is. It's like it's just, it's very kind of boring. So, and it's, everything is like just cheap chairs, sit there, get your cut, get out. Um, so you're trying to make it a little bit more of an experience. So if you are stuck waiting a little bit, hopefully you're not, because now you got the app and everything. But if you are, the kid is got a little bit of entertainment. They're going to, they're not going to be going nuts. Which makes the parents' life easier, but also everybody else's life easier that are there. So, and that's really
right.
important. Like I say, if you're going to cater kids, you got to do things that keep them toned down a little bit, so that they're not as, when they're bored, sometimes they make it known for everybody,
Fair way of saying it. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. So love all of that. Let's talk staffing now. Like in the case of the owner of the franchise, is this something that they need to be hands-on? Can they be, more of a semi-absentee owner? I know some haircut related franchises are able to do that. They're not necessarily in there cutting the hair every day, but they are overseeing like the books and, different things. So what does it look like from the owner standpoint? And then also staffing, because I know, like, I guess at its peak, how many people might you need, and also how many, like, usually when you're first opening up. But also, I know with haircuts, it's a little bit different. Depending on who you're, going to work for, where I guess they rent the chairs or something like that. So kind of explain that part for us, would you?
All of our staff is an employee or are employees.
Okay.
So we're not doing 1099 employees that are renting a booth.
Okay.
And the reason we do that is multifold, but one of the reasons is we're trying to build a culture in our staff.
Okay.
And it's not every hairstylist wants to cut children's hair. What they recognize when they do their investigation is that it can be very lucrative and also extremely rewarding.
Okay.
The kids love them. The children love our hairstylists. They grow attached to them. And they're
making appointments with specific stylists. That's my hairstylist, and I'm like 5 years old.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So at the beginning, obviously you have a smaller footprint of staff, but you've got, anywhere from 3 to 5 employees, some level of full-time and some level of part-time.
Okay.
Staff. I didn't answer your question earlier about how many chairs. Typically, we've got 7 to 8 chairs.
Okay.
So in a busy salon, let's call it a mature salon that's been open for a couple of years, we're going to have anywhere from 5 to 15 employees. We're going to have a receptionist, and then we're going to have hairstylists. And we might have some support people too on certain days to just try to help keep things moving along, help people get checked in, checked out, and stuff like that. At the beginning, that is frequently the owner. Okay. So we view our business model as very much an owner, an absentee, semi-absentee owner business.
Okay.
We have franchisees that own up to 7 salons that have general managers who oversee managers, et cetera. We have owners who have 1 salon, about 40% of them, and most of those are newer salons, I might add, but they are can be some level of the operator, the franchisee being in the salon every day. So what we talk about most of the time with new prospective franchisees is expect to be involved in the business a lot early. I think it's important.
Yeah.
It's important for them to understand the day in and day out operation, but it's also important for them to go in and build the culture and be a part of the community and understand what goes into the day in and day out
Uh-huh.
operation. And then because it is a relatively simple business model, then you can step away from it as need be. And most people, when they step away from it, they develop additional locations. They believe then, okay, look, it's time. We've saturated this market, this part of the market. We want to add additional locations. Or we have some people who come in and say, we want to do multiple locations from the beginning.
Mm.
But they're going to need a management team
Yes.
to oversee the day in and day out operations as well. And so it really can be done to whatever extent you want it to be done that fits your lifestyle. We're all about work-life balance. We have very what I call civilized hours. We're open 6 or 7 days a week, up to 8 hours a day, but some days less. And so you can have a life as well. And we have a lot of franchisees who come to us who are ready to get back to work after having children. We have others who are coming to us because they view this as an operation that they can replicate and build, as I say, their empire out of.
Yeah. Hmm. That's interesting. Like there's only so many, like there's so many franchises out there, but not every one of them really is good for doing what you said, building an empire, of sorts, where you can, because, it's all about opening the next location and stuff. So this is one that you can be, somewhat, you need to be involved. And I agree with you. Like if you're going to run any business, I don't care if you want to be like a semi absentee owner, you need to understand the ins and outs
Right.
of the business. That's paramount to it no matter what.
I agree.
So being hands-on early on is a really good thing. From the charging perspective, like what does a haircut run for a kid nowadays? Like, as an average, because like say I paid $40 the other day, but if you go to a Great Clips or something, about $20. It's kind of, you get what you pay for, right? It's, we're still in, that's always going to be like the, the rule that you follow. So what does a kid's haircut cost?
Well, you're right. And it is a little different in every market, but look back at the news over the last 2 years. Everything has gotten more expensive.
Sure.
And that includes our very professional staff. That includes our real estate. That includes everything. And so, with no apologies, our haircuts typically range between $20 and $24. Some higher. In certain markets.
To me, I haven't seen a $10 haircut in years. So,
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The days of those are long since past, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and like I say, part of this is if you're bringing because your children are the ones getting the cuts here, you're also buying into the experience that this is a more for a few dollars extra, but I have my kid that likes going here, and I don't have all that trouble. That's worth a few bucks extra anyway.
Yeah, I am the guy who got the $10 haircut,
Yeah.
and
Totally.
and those are gone. You see how it worked out on me, but the they're paying for the experience, and they're paying for the incredible level of service that our stylists provide, and it's what we found is just like education, just like medical care, just like food, quality of food, parents will do for their children as much as they possibly can afford to do. And this is one of those things that parents clearly consider to be important enough for their children to pay for the best. And that's what we're geared toward.
How many children just in a month or even a day can one of these one of your locations expect to see visit? How many haircuts do you give out?
Yeah, we're 1,000 to 2,000 haircuts a month, depending on the
Wow.
age, the market, the size of the salon. But yeah, somewhere in those neighborhoods.
Okay, so 1,000 to 2,000 haircuts per month. Wow, that's a lot of haircuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Huh. It's Man, it's like, because I think that's, with any like barber shop, you don't realize, how many people actually are in and out, you know, over the course of any period of time. So I think that's really interesting. Um,
Well, when I'm sorry I interrupted you.
no, go ahead, go.
When I was looking into this business, I had no idea the size of the haircutting industry, and
Hmm.
it's $65 billion industry in the
Seriously?
U.S. and they view the children's segment as probably 7 to 10 billion of that. And
Oh,
I, I find those numbers to be staggering.
yeah,
But
me
if you
too.
stop and kind of slowly think about it, okay, 2.3 children, yada yada yada. All of a sudden, it kind of adds up, and the dollar signs start to kind of move in your favor.
Hmm. Yeah, no kidding. Like, I had no idea that the industry was that large.
Yeah.
That's really significant. Okay. Now the most important question. What does it take to invest? What's the franchise fees, the royalties look like in your build out too? I mean, how much money does it take to get up and running?
Yeah, another thing that's gone up lately, right?
Yeah, yeah, right.
Um, as I said, we're in the 1,000 to 1,500 square foot
Hmm.
range. Our franchise fee for a single location is $30,000, which is just very much at the bottom end of a normal brick and mortar retail type franchise. Just because we're trying to keep it, we're not trying to make that money on the front end. It's not really what our goal is. Um, our range of investment, and this will sound like a really big range, but it depends on what landlords do for us.
Sure.
Excuse me, in terms of build out and stuff like that, ranges from about $100 to about $250,000.
Okay.
That's to get the doors open, to have some operating capital, to build it out, franchise fees, stock it, market yourself, market for employees, and basically get you up and running and with a little operating capital beyond that. You certainly are going to need more operating capital until you turn the corner. But, that's what we're here to help with, is turning that corner faster than you might if you were operating on your own.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, what kind of
we've got,
marketing support do you guys typically give so that they can get up and running and turn that corner quicker?
we've got a great franchise support team who really, we assign a specialist franchise. We call them a franchise support specialist to every franchisee
Hmm.
as soon as they sign their lease. So once they've signed their lease and they start the construction process, the build out process, the pre opening timeline gets put in place, and they have this person assigned to them. And that person is working with them not only on all the nuts and bolts of the operation and the staffing, but certainly the marketing is a key component. And we do pre opening marketing, we do a lot of search engine optimization, we do a lot of YouTube videos now,
Hmm.
a lot of local stuff that reaches the local community, a lot of community interaction and involvement. There is an entire marketing program that is ever evolving. We do, I mean, we've got a gamut of everything, all the tools in the tool chest, and we cater a marketing plan. We work with the franchisee to develop a marketing plan specific to their location each year. And then throughout the year, we adjust it based on the ROI, the return on the marketing investments, and how they're performing, and what else they might want to shift those marketing dollars towards. So there's a tool chest. We don't have enough time today to talk
Yeah.
about what's all in the tool chest, but suffice it to say, we've got a great marketing firm that we work with, and we train our people at the franchisor level to work with the franchisees on their specific needs based on their performance, age, location, et cetera.
Hmm. Well, that's good because, like I say, with any business, it's getting off to a strong start, and that's going to come down to the marketing, for them to be able to do that. Um, and my final question would be like, what are you typically looking for in a potential franchise owner? Who makes a good fit for this?
I think first and foremost, Cash, is people. I'm looking for people who are people oriented. And the reason I say that is there's going to be a lot of human interaction in this business. You're going to interact with your community. You're going to interact with your customers. You're going to interact with the children. But you're also going to interact with your employees, who are so key and so vital to the development of your business. It's really hard to sell a haircut without somebody there to cut the hair.
Yeah, right.
And so nurturing, developing, and retaining those people is first and foremost in this business. And it's a challenge in this business. But we give you a lot of tools, we give you a lot of techniques, but we also want somebody up front. We kind of, when we talk to prospective franchisees, we talk specifically and at great length about this, because they need to understand the expectations. So first and foremost, a people person. Secondly, we want a business person. We want somebody who understands that running a business is more than, just saying I run a business, that's going to get into the nitty gritty and understand all of the components to running a kid's hair salon are really the same components as running General Motors. They're just on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
You got to have staffing, you got to have marketing, you got to have HR, you got to have sales, you got to have all those things that go into it. And so there's got to be some business component. And then finally, I would say it needs to be somebody who is willing and understands that in a franchise, you need to follow the systems.
Yes.
You're paying for those systems, and those are proven systems that we know work. And if you follow the systems, your chances for success are much greater than otherwise. But don't go off and reinvent the wheel every 2 weeks. Follow the systems, keep following the systems, follow them again. And that's the other component that really what we're looking for. So people skills, business background, and willingness to follow the system is really what we're looking for.
Yeah, I think anytime I ever hear of a franchise, like a franchisee, you say, oh, we ended up, closing some locations. It's because the people didn't follow the systems, because you look at how many, you've got 75, assuming that they're all successful, they're following the systems, which has helped make them successful. And you buy into franchises because they come with systems. Again, it's already people that have worked out the kinks. They've figured out what works and doesn't work. And that's why you buy into it, because then you save yourself years and a lot of money on that end, just figuring those things out and, failing essentially, until you end up with success, so I think that, that's one of the biggest, points of any franchise that, it's why you do it.
Well, I think it is. I think people who come to us are by nature entrepreneurial. They want to own their own business. They want to be in control of their lives. But you go to a franchise, you can still be entrepreneurial and follow the systems.
Yeah.
And it's why I've been in the industry for so many years. I love the idea of helping someone have a greater chance of success owning a business. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about franchising is giving people, selling people that opportunity, and it's a cool thing. It's really, really fun. Very gratifying.
Okay. Well, Wade, how would somebody get a hold of you if they want to inquire about a franchise?
Easiest, just pigtailsandcrewcuts.com. And they got those Google machines that'll figure it all out, but you can plug in Pigtails and Crewcuts. You can plug in kids' haircuts, and chances are you'll find us.
Okay. Hey, this has been another great episode of Emerging Brands Franchises on the Rise. We've been talking kids' haircuts. If you're thinking of what kind of franchise would I buy into, this is an interesting model because, there's a lot of people out there that have gotten into some sort of salon business, barbershop, type deal like this, and they've built empires. And this is one you can do that, the same thing. You can end up with a multi-location business and scale it over time, and you're going to have that support system. That's what you need when you're doing this. And you're also hitting an underserved segment that's huge. That's the thing. People aren't, yes, kids get their haircuts. every day they can get them on all sorts of places. But when you're catering to them, you're not just catering to the kid, you're catering to the parent. You're making their life easy. And when they see that kind of a concept, they keep coming back again and again and again. That's what you want with a business. You want repeat business. So thank you for joining us, Wade. It's been great having you on. My name's Cash Miller. I'm the host. I'm also the CEO of Titan Media Works. We do podcast production. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.